Okay, starting off this week with some machine countersinking for the trailing edges using the jig from Cleveland Aircraft Tools. That jig is quite nice, results in a nice consistent countersink for each one of those trailing edge sides. I was quite happy with that. And then edge bending for the leading edges and the skins to make sure that they mate nicely when you get everything riveted in place. Dimpling the skins and the spars to get ready for the final assembly, and then starting the final assembly and the riveting. Um, Riveting went pretty smoothly, but then decided it would be best to try to preserve that blue vinyl on the leading edges before I went too far, to make sure that that's preserved and protected as much as I can for the long haul. I did not feel comfortable with the amount of force that was on the nose ribs, so I used some painter's tape just to hold the shape of the leading edge while I was riveting those nose ribs in place so that there wasn't so much strain on that. That 5.5 inch yoke came in quite handy for squeezing some of those rivets inside the nose ribs and the leading edge, so I used that quite well. And then obviously some standard pull rivets for connecting the ribs to the spars. Prepping the skins here for riveting to the spar, getting that all ready to rock and roll. Nothing terribly exciting there, all pretty standard work. And then realized that I was going to need those cradles for holding the ailerons in place, so I whipped up some cradles so that I could use those, and I also whipped up some flat stock, so that I could keep the trailing edges nice and stiff and straight while I was riveting those top skins in place. Finally started riveting the top skins in place. It was slow work, but it was relatively easy, went pretty well, resulted in pretty good quality work. And then there's a part here where I get really frustrated. The access to the buck the solid rivets for the main ribs, both the outboard and inboard side, is extremely challenging. I had to get Emily to come out, that you'll see her here shortly, to help me buck those in place and hold the aileron assembly while I was focusing on riveting. Access was difficult. I had to get a little creative. I wasn't terribly thrilled with the end quality product, but I'm confident that it'll hold up to the test of time and the forces involved. So it's just not great. It's not very easy work. And then also there's a direction in the earlier pages that references dimpling the main ribs. It's not actually referenced in the written directions. It's only in the picture, and I missed it. So I had to take everything apart, dimple those holes, and then put everything back together again to get to riveting and getting some of those countersunk pull rivets in place. The last part of the video is me using a big giant bucking bar that's provided by Cleveland Aircraft Tools. I've always been intimidated by it, but it actually ended up working really well and produced some pretty good quality work, so I was quite pleased. And then the very last part of the video is just preloading some rivets for the squeeze on the trailing edge.